Did you ever wonder one of those days what the topic was going to be? I started out like that, but it's right here in the top, so I I know what it is. All righty, so we're going to talk about some builds. We're going to talk about some perceptions. We're going to talk about some realities. All next on What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Welcome back to What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Jim McCleary here, and it's called What's in My Drawers because of what's in my drawers in my golf shop. And why is it what's in my drawers? Because old club makers and club fitters are tremendous pack rats, and I'm no different. All righty. So this is where we talk about golf club repairs, golf club reviews, and golf club fittings. Also, your scores can go low. So let's get to it. We saw that the team event, we ended up in the Irish folks winning. That was pretty cool. And it even went down to those guys shooting 11 under. That was pretty impressive. Got down to a playoff, and it was basically just a chunk that separated the top from the bottom, or the first from second, basically. And so it was a good time to be had by all. I didn't get to see a drop of it, but it sounded like they were having a good time. And every once in a while, I'm good with that. I'm good with the different formats to give it kind of a break, right? Just like you see in NASCAR, where go fast, turn left turns into you go up to was it Glen, something Glen, and where they road race, or in California where they used to road race. I think it's good to give them a break every once in a while and change it up, just so that it can show the golfing populace that there's more to it than just going out there and driving at 320 and hitting really cool wedge shots, that you can rely on a partner and whatnot. So that's very, very cool. All righty. So let's do this. Let's see. Yeah, you remember, you guys, when I was telling you about when I was telling you about starting on my shelving project? Right there. Remember that guy right there? I was showing you my shelving project. That was me getting started. Well, it's done. And if you can stay with me for about a minute or a minute and a half, we will I'll show you what happened. So there it is, right? We made the shelving unit. Made a shelving unit. For a better picture, here you go. That's the last one. I didn't show you that there was a box. It was Angel's Envy that Mrs. McGolf and we went to there, and we poured our own bottle, or bottled our own bottle. And we're going to drink one and keep the other one, because the other one is a mistake bottle now, and that's a story to be told later. Once we went through it, as I've been telling folks, my OCD for glasses kicked in, and I started rearranging them so that they're all in line. And just to kind of give you an idea, I'm not going to go through every bottle. That's just be too boring, and this is not a bourbon channel. So there's one of my favorite shelves right there. It's got a lot of unique ones on it, and so is this one. There's the chicken cock on the side, some Castle and Key, and surrounded by some scotch. And then there's I call that my Irish Scottish shelf. And then daily stuff right there, with some half daily, haven't broken into stuff. All right, so that's it. Today we have Bourbon 30. It's called Bourbon 30. It's from Jay Mattingly. We got it because the 30 is 1/3 of Mrs. McGolf's age. Not really. It's just half her age, coming up really quick. I'm looking for her reaction. I'm waiting to get one here. Anyway, so that's what it was. So it was fun. If you guys are interested, whether you want to make it a bourbon shelf or just a regular shelf, and you like that iron pipe look, and you don't want to actually have iron pipe, Amazon makes these shelving kits, and the piping is very, very smooth, so you don't have to worry about cutting your hands. And the threading is very, very tight. I've worked with black iron in the past, and you can really, you really can give it a tightening down. And I was afraid to with this initially, and then when I finally needed to get everything aligned, I really gave it some motion, and it accepted it, and it worked, and nothing broke. So that was very, very cool. Now we're working on lighting in the back so it can look good. All right. Oh, stuff we built. Stuff we built. The first one is for actually two of them. One for a McGolf viewer. This is for Charlie. I don't know. He probably ought to have this in hand by now. But here's Charlie. Charlie's on here. He got some Wilson Dyna Forged, and I talked him into some green ferrules. Pardon me. I talked him into some green ferrules so that it would match the green paint on the Neos. Okay, so they all came out very, very well. I like those a lot. And then if we look over here on the Wilson staffs, these are the new wedges I was telling you about. I don't think there's any dramatic difference in their shape or that, but they did dress it up. This staff model deck back in here with a little bit of a line. I think it's a cleaner look. I like the looks of that. And we gave them the red line to go with these red shafts that are down here at the bottom. And then we topped them off with some Tour Velvets, the MCC variety. I kind of like those. That's a good looking set. And I will tell you that I have been testing, and I've got it narrowed down. I have it narrowed down to two clubs, and one of them is the Dynaforged. And the Dynaforged seems to be winning right now, and it's narrowly beating another club by 2 yards in distance, and it's slightly more compact for dispersion. And Charlie, I'm using the same exact shaft, bud, and, and it is rolling. So yeah, I'm real happy with it. All right, another one. This one goes to Virginia, and this is for I believe he's a dentist in Virginia. And these were brand spanking new clubs. Had the plastic on them, the whole 9 yards. He just didn't like the shaft that was in them, and so he wanted me to put in those. The steel fiber 110s. All right, and these are our flexes. So when you think about this, it's really kind of funny in the fact that, and this is the first one I've seen do this, so props to steel fiber, that normally when you start getting beyond 95, that finding an R flex in the heavier weights is virtually impossible. And when they showed those to me, I thought, yeah, okay, here we go. It's going to be awful. It's going to be like an X flex, and I feel bad for the golfer. Well, when we flexed them out, they were all in the very middle of the regular range, give or take a quarter of a flex. So not only did they come out exactly as prescribed, but the variance was very, very good. So that was a unique one. Now I will say we had to have a discussion because he wanted me to weaken these clubs somewhere between 3 and 4 degrees. Well, that's just literally the very next club down. He could, if he wanted those, he could have started at the 6 and went into the wedge and had the same exact set. But he didn't. He ordered the other set in order to mimic. Those are T350s, by the way. And he wanted them to be like his T200s. Well, we had weakened his T200s by 2 degrees. And I'm like, okay, here's what's going to happen. If I bend them that much, it's going to render them almost unplayable. And that's not what we want. Well, his concern was the gapping. I said, well, you'll have the same gapping. It will just be further. And he goes, well, okay, we'll go with that. So I did some loft and lie checks, and the the lofts were dead solid, but I had to move them, so we weakened them too for him, and then we checked the lie angle. I had to work over some lie angles, but it is what it is. Got him his grips on. Pardon me. Got his grips on, and out the door they go. Final one for the week is going to Florida, and this is a redo. This guy here is also a viewer, and this one's going down to, I think, was it Bradenton, Florida? Anyway, it's going down to Florida, and the lofts were, or the length were kind of off. He said it didn't feel right, and and when I looked at it, the ferrules kind of looked funky, and they were the same exact ferrules that you see on here now. They just had this big giant bulb on them, meaning that they came down like this, and then they went out like that, like somebody was smashing them. And I've seen that before. What that is when you get the ferrule a little bit warm and you push it down, and it's the top end stops, but the bottom end doesn't. And that's what it looked like to me. Dang. Anyway, obviously the Stealth. Now, the cool part about this one is I got to do some work on them. There was a lot of toe hitting going on. And once I measured the length of these clubs, they were all over the map. And I was like, wow, these are bad. And he said he had them cut at Golf Works. And that seems kind of odd because I know they do better than that. And so we had to disassemble these guys down to parade rest. And once I put the new ferrules back on them, realigned them the way they're supposed to, and there was black stuff all up and down the white, and we got rid of that. Then I measured them again. And when I measured them again, they are all correct. So I did take out a lot of junk out of the bottom, but not so much as we were seeing. So this was a combination of whoever previously put them together, too much glue in the bottom, and not enough putting the grip on all the way. There might have been a couple of ones that were flimsy. And so once we took them all apart, put them all back together, all we had to do was re-glue them or re-grip them because he was using wind grips. So we used he had the Max 55s in there. Good little shaft, very lightweight, and as you can see, they had the Wind Reds. Those are stock grips or standard grips. I think the red looks pretty good with the two reds. Normally they don't match. I had a lot of red. We had those shafts. We had these shafts here. Then I had another set of KBS shafts next to it, and then another set of Modus next to it, and a whole bunch of red flowing. So that was a lot going on. Anyway, there was a lot. The toe hitting was probably because the length of the club was off, and so he asked me to dress it up, and I did. We got rid of all the scratches, and then dressed it back down. And then I went back and I measured it, and lo and behold, all the lengths that were the naked lengths were dead solid on. Like, okay, so this time we made sure to get the grip all the way on, and when I did that, you only add very little amount with the grip on these particular model, and it worked out fine. They looked really good. Checked the lofts and lies on them again to make sure they were right, and out the door they went. So that was pretty cool. Last but not least, since we're showing you everything, this weekend was pork loin, and that's what that one looks like right there. Nice smoked pork loin. The very end where it's a little darker meat, man, stuff's terrific. Okay, so reality versus perception. Here we go. This is a good one. Reality versus perception in the golf world. Alrighty, so when if you travel around into the forums, I don't know if it's gotten any better. If you go into the forums, the My Golf Spies, the Hackers Paradise, Golf Works, all those other ones, inevitably there's some guy that can't find a shaft to fit his 340-yard drive, or you can't find he's consistently over 300, and okay, well, now there's young enough folks out there that yes, they can hit over that, but the average the stats would be built against them. Alrighty, so now that one's just a thing. I need water. I need water. Oh, I'm annoying you, huh? Well, here you go. Annoy this. There we go. So anyway, uh, I always thought I found that to be annoying. And I know that there's some folks out there that are telling the truth, and I know some folks out there that are just either doing it to get people's goats or to it becomes unrealistic. And so when that happens, in here in the golf in the golf world, what we'll do is, one of the questions is, hey, how far do you hit your driver? And and oh, 275, 280, on a that's on a good day. I was like, okay, what do you hit it on not a good day? Well, about 240, 250. Well, that's a pretty wide range, right? And we get in here, and the reality of it's closer to 240 all the time, with a good shot to being 250. So we have to be realistic in what when we go golfing and what we do. And yes, I'm sure that there's times where we will hit a 280-yard shot, and that's a really good deal. Everything lines up, but that's once in a while. Uh, you know, play to your reality. Okay. The other part is, in this perception of the golf world, is now I'll go the other way. I blame that one I put on the golfer, now on the golf company. All right. And so everybody's guilty of a little something something. And what we see is you get a lot of these uh, the golf companies, and like I did on the stock versus custom video last week. Hopefully, you all saw that. That not everything comes out as it's supposed to. Now, that's manufacturing tolerances. I'm not saying it's bad or bad or they're horrible or anything, but it's manufacturing tolerances can allow these things to happen, and you can get two clubs that could hit the same distance because of being off on loft one way and then loft another way on another club. Uh, as a whole, I'm not seeing a lot of that anymore, but now we've paid so much attention to the loft that we're missing lie angles. It is not uncommon for me to find, out of a set of 8, between 3 and 4 lie angles that are off dramatically. And when we get down into the lower clubs, the wedges, it's paramount that you have the right lie angle. At the top end, not so much, but at the bottom, yeah, for sure, you really want that. And so that's the reason why we check everything before it goes out, just to make sure it's either as prescribed or as requested. Now, there's other, these, clubs that hit forever. That's an old adage. I'm not even going to go over that one. But what we get out there is we have to. I guess the whole genesis of this is, when you go out and play, don't expect the thing at the end of that stick is what makes that club head move and the golf ball go, and that would be you. So do all you can, have all the fun you can possibly have, and let's treat these things like, if you're 170 yards out and you're picking up your 9 iron, you probably need to readjust yourself, unless you're 20 years old and you have 120 mile an hour swing speed. All right, just so they're doing. I don't know why I picked that topic. I just must have been going when I was going through this and I was seeing that stuff, and then I saw those and what they were wanting to do, and Charlie's wasn't too far off, but just made me think that we probably need to address some of that. If you got any more topics you want to, we go from here to there. If you got any more topics you want to talk about, put them in the show notes and we'll keep a list for you, and then we'll try and bring that back on. As well, hit the thumbs up, hit the like, hit the subscribe, do all that really cool stuff down at the bottom so we can get the get the count up on these live streams. If we get the count up on the live streams, it goes out there a little bit further. All right, so let's get to the top and see who was first. All righty, Jim Anderson was first. He's from East Central Rife. Well, we thought the dry weather was coming after a nice few days, but unfortunately rain has returned. Let's have another excellent show. Well, we hope so too, sir. Hopefully you get it dried off out there, and enjoy Central 5. Scott Gordon, hello, Jim, and everyone else is here as well. Thank you so much, Scott. Emmanuel, my buddy. Hello, Robin, and the rest of the McGolf gearheads. Great thoughts on reality versus perception. It is something that challenges fitters and repairmen every day. You are correct, sir. In the repairing aspect of it, when we talk about, we ran into it. Rob and I ran into it just this week where um, I put together a ping, a ping I2 beryllium copper, and it was a broken club found in a golf bag. And I took out the club. Obviously, it's a 355. Well, I get a 355, and the doggone thing, the make of the 355 shaft had just this tremendous amount of nickel plating on the outside, and I had to really take off quite a bit of that, and then I had to get in and grind out some of the hosel because there was grooves in there, and so I had to smooth that out a little bit. Not the kinds you would see like in a Mizuno or something. There was just a literal groove in there, like a shelf, and it kept hitting that daggone thing. And so I got rid of it, and I finally figured out a way to get it in there. A lot of work for that club. Not to mention that taking I2s apart are just a pain in the butt anyway. About needed a flamethrower for that thing. All righty, so we did that. Brett Corneliuson. There we go. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. Are there any OEM shafts that are similar to the Ventus Black Velocore? Well, Brett, the thing, the OEMs will probably not have the Velocore. Okay, the black. Now they will have Ventus Black, and they'll have Ventus Red and Ventus Blue, but the Velocore is where the rubber meets the road. Now, Velocore is nothing more than a technology in how they weave into the bottom of that club. Okay, and so it is it's a proprietary thing. I get this. It's a proprietary thing that Fuji does. Now, Ventus Black. I've had some Ventus Black in the shop, and I've had Ventus Red and a TR. And it was funny that the TR Red in S frequencied out higher than the black did in X, and because the profiles are different, and so that was kind of funny. So what you're seeing is it's a very stable club at the very bottom, but it's a little softer at the top, which is unique for Fujikura. Normally they're the other way around. So what would be very close to that? If you're looking in OEM land and you couldn't get there, my first inclination would be the Denali Black. If you're because OEMs would have that, right? If you're looking at from a Mizuno, Callaway, TaylorMade, Tylet, all those guys from OEM, that would probably be the closest. Or if you wanted a little bit beefier, you could go with the Hazardous Black, and I would try that in the same weight and flex. All righty. John Cherry, what do you say? Do wedge specialty shafts make a big difference, especially if you have single length irons? Well, I will say this, John, that as you become more to an average golfer, probably not. Okay. To a golfer that say is in the 90 on down, yeah, very well may. All right. So why? Why is that? Because wedge shafts are specifically designed to contend with that extra weight that the wedge provides, right? The pitching wedge normally runs around a 289-ish, 290-ish, right? Where the wedges start probably at 303 and above. And so you have this extra mass at the bottom and where you're going through it. So the wedge shaft is a specific design. That came about from the spinner shaft. So those of us that were rifle centers could make spinner shafts, and the spinner wasn't a thing until rifle and the rifle centers started doing it. And it was there. I'm not going to go through the whole prescription and how it works, but it was really quite cool how it worked. And so what they did is a lot of companies reverse engineered some and turned them into wedge shafts. So a lot of what you see out there is the genesis of a spinner shaft, and what they've done is they've each manufacturer's made their own take on it. So a Modus is different than a Dynamic Gold, is different than a particular rifle, right? What else I got up there? Oh yeah, a KBS and a 600 or a 610. They all want to give a little bit of control on the club, because normally a wedge is not a full swing club, and so they want to give you enough softness so it doesn't feel brutally stiff, but still get you enough control so that it gets up. And now, if you have them in single length irons, uh, that's a tough call. If the single length iron is from the single length set, then I would say no. The whole idea is same swing, same swing, different result, and I would just stay with it. In fact, what I might do is you take that same shaft and I would tip it maybe a half of an inch more, just for a no other reason than to give it a little bit more stiffness control at the bottom, because again, it's not a full swing club, and it's kind of a cheating way of flighting some clubs. To the point at the other end, I might tip trim a half of an inch less on the top two clubs. Okay, Taylor Vanny, what do you say, buddy? My dog Rex. What do you say? All righty, Robin's talking there. Phil K, there he is from Austin. How are you, sir? Hopefully everything's doing good. Oh, here we go. He's going to ask me a question. When you fit for length, do you use the same shaft for everyone? And once length is determined, do you fit for specific flex, weight, and brand? You better believe it, bud. So let me tear this off right here. So if you see this right here, that's my fitting clubs. Those guys right there, that's for, let me go back. So right back here. There we go. I have a set for ladies that are slightly lighter and shorter. So tweeners or kids can use them. Then I have a set of I have just a set for adults, and then I have a set for left-handers. Did it follow me? It sure did. And it's a set for left-handers, and that's it, because length is length no matter how you swing it, right? Even seniors, when I give them this club, now I'll give them a chance to warm up, obviously. When they get in there and they hit it, I'm not worried about the absolute distance that they make, because it's going to be the same in relationship, right? Whether you're 10 or 12 or 20 yards shorter, it matters not. What it matters is how that club performed against the other club against the other club. And then once we find that length, what I do is I find the lie angle first. And that lie angle helps with that turf interaction. And that turf interaction, so whether I need, some up or some irregular or whatever, and then we go into the rest of it in order to, so that we hit good quality golf shots. Now, I will say something to that, is that I've been using that Wilson AI thing that they want. Okay, it's cool, and but it says about, it told me I need a degree upright in order for my swing and that kind of stuff. So in my testing, I took one of the clubs, because I have it in the Mizuno, and I was able to bend them 2 degrees upright. And I said, well, what's 2 degrees? And I started hitting it, and I'll be doggone if it didn't hit a little bit better. So there's something to it. Is it the cure all end all? No, it's not even close. But it's one heck of a start. Now, as I've said before, these things here, when they do these, like even the Mizuno Optimizer, the Wilson AI, whoever brings this stuff out, so you got to keep in mind that they're fitting to their product, okay, their product. And that means that when they're going to ask you a series of questions, and those series of questions is basically so to put you in a category of head, okay, particularly if they have 6-7 kinds of heads, they're going to ask you, are you worried about, you want distance do you want distance, you want control, do you want you want fade bias or draw bias, do you like a top line, or do you want this, and they got these specific questions to throw you into these particular categories of clubs. So they've given you what you've asked for. Okay, that's cool. It may not be what you need, but they're giving you what you asked for. Then you take these swings. And now in this particular one, using the blast motion, it is timing your takeaway and your down and your release. And that can be quite handy for a fitter. Now, the other part of this is it's totally relies on, because it's been programmed to the shafts that are available in that particular company. So in every case here, now I will say I've done, a handful of fittings with this thing just to get a good baseline. And the steel shafts, there's been different ones, right? But I can almost now predict what it's going to say. In every sense of the term from graphite, it's always been the same one. It's been the Recoil 75. So obviously they have Recoil 75s. Again, is that a bad shaft? No, it is not a bad shaft. But when you recommend a DG 120 or a Recoil 75 just because it's graphite, that's a problem, right? That is not the same club. And that's the thing they need to work on. All right, that's me getting. Hold on a minute. I got off my soapbox there for a second. All righty. Robin talking to everybody. There we go. Perception, I'm a good golfer. Reality, I'm a 10.3 handicap. Well, Manuel, if you're truly a 10.3 handicap, you're probably better than 90% of the golfers out there, so that's not too bad. And that, again, there's a perception of what's good. If you're comparing yourself to the guys on TV, then yeah, there's a perception versus reality. You got a handful of points you got to cover up there. Man, I got to give a nod to that Bourbon 30 stuff. Not bad. JP Duncan, happy Monday, Jim and Robin. Same to you, sir. Thank you. John Lamb. Hope all is well in your neck of the woods. It is just settling in with a hot chocolate and Grand Marnier. Hey, nice. My weekly fix of fittings, repairs. Kudos to putting this out there. Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. What's that say? He says, if found, please hit better than the last guy. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All righty. Hello from Myrtle Beach. There's my buddy Peter. How are you, sir? Nice warm weather. It got up to 80 out here. Mrs. McGolf got on the lawnmower. She's a lawn mowing machine. She takes care of all the 20 acres that we've got, unless I've got time, but she's killing it. She's absolutely killing it. Taylor, has anybody tried an entire bag of hybrids? Well, I can tell you once, if you go looking in my library, I made an entire set of hybrid irons. That was weird. And when I mean hybrid irons, that's what I mean. They had a lob wedge hybrid iron. And that thing was, I will have to say, that thing was pretty cool. Would I ever use it? No. I don't know if I could hit it or not. But I made an entire set. Now, the two sets that were out there from a hybrid iron standpoint are those Clevelands and the Halos and Wilsons and the launch pads. Both using the same kind of grasp on what it is. And if you're, those are for guys, they're very, very strong lofted. They're so that, you can get it out there. So for maybe a beginner or a slower swinger would really benefit from these. If you're a person that chops wood and you don't like taking a divot the size of Rhode Island, these would be that way. Pardon me. And those would work very, very well for you. They're very, very easy to hit. I made my last set of launch pads because I think they're discontinuing them right now for a gentleman that was right here. Hopefully he loves them. I will say from a Cleveland perspective that that Halo was really cool. I did test it. However, their XL iron is by far and away a better club. By far and away a better club. Howdy, Jim and Robin from St. Louis, home of my broken 3-wood. Oh my, we don't like that. I have a Ventus 5S TR shaft. Can I put the driver shaft in my 3-wood and cut it down to 43.5 inches? Well, what I would do, RS, before doing that, if it's a driver shaft, I'd walk in there and I would cut it down probably don't go an inch. I would go about another 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch and then put it in there and then cut it down. Then, yeah, you could do it. Mark Nat, what do you say? Hey, Jim and Robin. Jimmy, if you have graphite shaft that breaks off inside the adapter, do you still drill out the adapter or do you have another secret to reuse the adapter? Well, what you do, Mark, is what I would do is, and you're going to need gloves. Okay, you're going to need gloves. Is take that thing out, and if you could get another screw that would fit into the bottom, it would help out greatly. But what I would do is I would take it out and I would heat it with that Burnsomatic butane torch that I like to use, and get that thing going, and just heat it up and give it about 20 seconds in each corner, and every so you got about 60 seconds in this thing max. 60 seconds max, because the adapters are aluminum. You get them too hot, they get porous, and it looks like the adapter's got Swiss cheese. So you want to be careful of the paint. Once you get that 60, put it back in the head, tighten it down. That way you have a base to work from. Then take your drill and drill it out, and start small and work your way big, because that drill will eat that adapter with no problem. So start with like a 3/16 if you can get into it, and then work your way up to a 5/16. By the time you get there, it should be pulling the thing out. All right. And then you can work your way around with a brush. But yeah, that's the way to keep them, man. Good afternoon in warm Lombard. Hey, it's starting to hit you too. Very cool. We like that. John Duff, nice shelving unit. I do like it, John. It turned out really good. I got Mrs. McGolf's approval, so hey, it's all good. And again, I was telling somebody else about it. The shelving unit itself, if you ever worked with black iron or black pipe, it's a cast. It's very hard, and it can be very rough on the outside. Now they have some that are galvanized. I absolutely positively will not go with that. You want to go with the black, and you got to clean it off, because sometimes it comes oily. It's just a freaking mess, right? Now it's very, very heavy duty, and once you put it together, you could probably crawl on this thing. However, Amazon makes the shelving units, and they're very, very close, and you can really manipulate them to get them to where they need to be and be very, very solid. To the point, I kind of, when you put them on the wall and you're not just exactly straight, and you've got to sit there and go and maneuver it and get it back where it needs to go, you're doing something good. And I think that stuff will hold quite a bit. So as we were saying, is I got the challenge. Oh, you're gonna put these up, and you're gonna have so much, because you got so much. You're gonna fill up the shelves. As you saw, I got a whole top shelf to fill up, and that shelf is 12 inches deep. So I got at least 2 rows, maybe 3. So I got a little bit of room left. Yeah, you are not wrong. You are not wrong at all. Very nice setup and display. Well, thank you, sir. It goes around the. We're actually quite limited here. We downsized a long, long time ago, and space is at a premium at our house. So we sat there and we actually planned it out for quite some time to see where would be the best place to put this stuff. And so it turned out very, very good. I'm like, that's very good. Nice shelf, not tequila. No, brother. Uh, although I could do that, tequila's okay. Being a Navy guy, bad experiences with tequila. Tito's would be okay. I could stomach some Tito's. That would be all right. I'm not sure about the rest of it. Phil K. Manual, nice shelving unit, and the stuff on it. Party at McGolf, so I'll bring the hot dogs. Not a problem. I got a grill that will handle that, man. I got a grill that'll handle it. I think Cleveland makes a set. HD Turbo. Yeah, they're close. It's the I think they call them Halos. I got one over there. Yep. Is it better to buy a 54-degree wedge and bend it, or 54 and bend it to 55, or buy a 56 and bend it to 55? Ooh, good question, Jack. Very good question. So the question is, are you a digger or are you a slider? So if I do this, give me a minute. We'll give Mizuno a little bit of love on this one. Alrighty, so here's a Mizuno club, and this is actually a 5610. All right, so if that's a 5610 right there, and we want to take a 50, and we take it and we bend it to 55, what happens is we go this way. And I'm being exaggerating. I know we're not going to go that far, but take a look at what happens right there. Right? The leading edge tends to want to go down. And now it's only a degree, it's not a tremendous amount, but if you're a person that takes a very large divot already and gets stuck and you don't like it, that's probably not the way to go. Now, if you go the other way and you take 54 and you want to bend it, it goes this way. All right, it goes the other way, and you can see where the leading edge would bend up. Now, if you go up with it, if you're a person that tries to help the wedge up in the air, right, try it up in the air, you very well may not like it that way. So the opposites are true here. If you're a digger, then I would probably take the 54 and bend it to 55. If you're a sweeper, I would take the 56 and go the other way with it. All right. Mr. McGolf. That's all right. We got her, buddy. We're all a community here, man. Anything TaylorMade, Stealth HD. What's the Stealth HD? Oh, for more of a hybrid kind of look? Yeah, maybe. Beauty of the Shelving looks like the bar is getting stocked for the McGolf Scramble. Well, certainly if we get one. That's it. I've been although this is a golf channel, I've been perusing the bourbon channels, and the golf junkies are a bunch of I don't know, they're probably in the 30s, and they're in Michigan, and they're going to have a get together, and they both have discovered golf, as I found out in the last one. So I got to figure out how to politically correct touch out to them and see what's going on. Hey guys, no questions because I'm heading to a meeting. Talk next week. Well, Matt, be careful. Be careful. Phil K, good call. Time for afternoon tea. Matt, I was wondering where. Here we go. Looks like your suggestion for shelving worked out very well. Yeah, it did. I will give her that. If you remember, I don't know if I told you the whole story on that one. So she went out and bought some shelving, and it was really kind of nice. I have to say it was a 2 foot wide piece of shelving that fit in that little space that goes up and down, and they had the metal keyholes in the back, and it wasn't necessarily, and the wood was so light I thought it almost was balsa. But I don't know if you guys know wood or anything, let me know. But it was super light. I don't know if like poplar or something is very, very light. And it had a grain structure that wasn't familiar to me. It was very open. And so we tried to put it on there, and I'll be darned if it wasn't the screws that gave out. I bent one putting it in. And I'm like, oh, that ain't help. You know, I got more in the cap of one of those bottles than this shelf cost, so we're not doing that. So this turned out it was a good second choice. I like your thoughts. There you go, sir. Matt, did you find Wilson does a good job in custom with swing weights and different shaft options? I haven't had to do so. I get Wilson by the component, Matt, and so when I get them, everything gets weighed, and then we do all the bending and stuff. Now I will give him credit. Uh, Wilson is the last remaining company that I can work with. That in the day, the standard like 5-iron was 256, and they still make them to 256, and give or take a couple of grams. Where the average out there anymore would be 252. That's one whole swing weight point and almost one whole club. The idea is to get the swing weight down, and when I do fittings for that move, no. Okay, when I do fittings for the golfers, that's one of the very first comments that they make is that the club feels heavier. And it's because it is, right? It's because it is. Rama says, yes, I just got the board with me. We did it fast. Only 5 thumbs up on this. Come on, guys. There's John talking to you guys. I appreciate it, John. Oh, who doesn't like this? P-Funk Chang. There we go. What happens if you do not tip trim a fairway wood shaft that recommends tip trimming? Would it feel odd? It's a 3-wood. Thanks. Well, in most fairway wood shafts, P-Funk, is that the very first one, if it was a 3-wood, I would imagine should not. Did that just move? It sure did. If you have a fairway wood shaft, chances are that fairway wood shaft is made for a 3-wood length. All right. I would find it very hard to believe that somebody would give you a 3-wood shaft until you need to trim it for a 3-wood. That would be my inclination of it. And the fact that I know that there are not very many 3-wood shafts out there, or even fairway wood shafts, there's probably only 2, maybe 3 companies now. And I know all 3 of them say you do not have to tip trim for a 3-wood. So I would think that it would be fine. You would be able to put it right in and not a problem. And her vodka is not on the shelf either. The bottle's too tall. She has such a doggone big bottle of vodka, it's hard to go. So I don't know what that's all about. Although on the very top shelf, you will see, I don't know if you got a chance to see, there is a bottle of, what is those things called? That cinnamon whiskey that everybody likes, that comes in those little bitty bottles. Anyway, that same company made a cinnamon whiskey and doubled the proof on it. So it went from 30% to 60%. And it was a first batch. And I bought a couple, and man, it was really good. And so I went and bought a couple more. And so we have one as a hold on to. The rest of them, fair game. There's Krister. What do you say, sir? We finally have some warm weather. Very good for you. I saw you hitting some balls inside. Hopefully that translates to because you were hitting them pretty doggone straight. So hopefully that translates to outdoor activity. Oh, here we go. Finally had some time to test the new TSR driver. Really working well. Nice. I really like to hear that. Very well done. Do you find the consistency with the new Titleist? I've been thinking along those lines lately. There you go. 300 yards easy. Look at you go. That's because you're the man, Krister. That's all there is to it. Do you guys sell clubs, or do you repair and fitting and all that at your guys' store? Taylor, we do it all. We do sell clubs. We sell the Wilson, the Mizuno, the Srixon, and Callaway. And then we have Odyssey putters and Makefield putters. And if you really, really want to get into it, I can touch Peretti's, but that's been a while. And then we can go from there. Where is Charlie at? I bet he's playing with those new clubs that we made for him. I find consistency with TSR to be really good. Very nice. Easy to hit. Really, the TSR 4. So, Krister's the 4. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Which one is the most easy to hit, and which one would be considered the gamer, the one for the very low handicapper? Swing it excellent. I had first gen and found I could hook it off the planet if it really was concentrating on my swing. Okay. Mr. Anderson talking to Miss Robin. John Lamb, in the TS line, I had a TS3 driver and a TSA 3 wood. I had a problem to keep the ball in play with those. Okay, those must be the forgiving line then. Jim, if you played with a whole bag of hybrids, I have not. I have not. I think it could be very easy to do. It's just not something I would game. Now I have hit some, I've tested the 7s and some of the lower irons. Callaway even goes as low as an 8 in a regular hybrid as far as hybrid irons. But no, I've not played a whole one. If you really just if you were just getting started and you hadn't, if you're just wanting to hit good shots, good starting point. But if you're planning on keeping them as you get better, I think you'll find out that maybe they may not be the best starting point. Army Dogs Creation. What do you say? I like this one. Let's take a look here. Made in the USA by veterans. Hoorah! Not bad. Bakersville, California. Well done, sir. Appreciate that. Go Army Dogs. Now, as a Navy guy, I got to get this out right now because as an ex-Navy guy, I got to do my, you know what Army means, right? Ain't ready for Marines yet. All right, I said it. However, everybody served. You got my thumbs up on that one, brother. It's all good. And I fully suspect to get a slap back here in a little bit later. All right, swing it. Yep, really didn't get along with them. Now, every once in a while, I could crush one out there. Same problem with Cobra. Okay. John Lamb saying I had a Cobra and really liked it. First driver reached ball speed with 170. Whoo-wee. All righty. Jason, what do you say, man? Nice bourbon rack. Thank you. What's the best way to finish ferrules by hand? Should I buy a tool from GolfWorks for $35 or is it not needed? Not needed. I have. If you go look on about ferrules, I got 2 videos in my category that talks about ferrules, and one how to finish them, and I do it finish them by hand, finish them by machine, and I would go take a look at that to say to make it easier. What you're going to want to do is put a little piece of tape on both sides, and then take a strip of tape about as wide as the ferrule and only as wide as the ferrule, and a strip of tape, and do the shoe shine on it, turn it, do the shoe shine on it, turn it, do the shoe shine on it, and wipe it down with acetone. But look up ferrule in my library, and I'm sure you will find it, and it will tell you exactly what you need to do. All righty. Drew Brown, what do you say, sir? And off of Facebook, thank you. What's the difference between the DG Mid 100, DG 105, or Modus 105? All right, so the DG Mid 100. Well, the difference between the mid, I think the mid is a better shaft. All right, let's just go there. The DG 105 is nothing more than a lightweight version of the Dynamic Gold. The DG Mid is a softer version, I think is a much, much better shaft. All right. Now the Modus 105, which I have setting right about there, right, is a little bit different. It says it wants to play a little softer in the mid section. The Modus 105 and the DG Mid 100 are probably very close to one another. It's just depending on what you like. As far as consistency, I've had some mids in there and they did very well. But as far as being consistent, the Nippon product wins hands down. What's the difference between S300 and S400? Weight. Weight sorting, actually. The S numbers, and this is a misnomer. There's an S200, S300, S400. Okay, and as they go up, I believe is the way it works. As the number goes up, there's a span. There's a span on if you were to order a set of shafts, the span in weight could be as much as 5 or 6. I'm going to say the S400s might be a little bit higher. So for instance, let's say Dynamic Golds are in a 120, 125 range, right? And if you got S400s, and if I'm correct with this, S400s would be, you could easily get something between 122 and maybe 130. All right. I find it hard to believe that they would make a 130 shaft, but that's the weight sorting. That's the difference of weight sorting. In the Dynamic Gold S300s, I think it's around 5 grams from top to bottom, and the 200s is probably 3 grams top to bottom. All right, I played an old TT wedge spinner shaft for years. That one had many funny steps near the grip in, and they worked well. Yeah, so steps are a way of making flex in a shaft. And that TT, what you're talking about, went step, 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 and then went really crazy. And what that was trying to do is trying to make the butt section a little softer than they had before, so you get that little snap from the grip section instead of the bottom. Advanced Dynamic Golf Center. Am I the only one who's not a big fan of the lab putters? How can you become a good player without feedback, i.e. low MOI, no feedback on longer putts? What's your thoughts? Well, unfortunately, bud, I like lab. I've got one in the bag, and I do get feedback from it because in the middle, the way the Mez putter is made, there's a chunk of metal that. So the way this thing is made is there's a piece of steel in there. It's very, very small, and then it goes out and it's all aluminum out there to give it really high MOI. The aluminum doesn't get it. It's the weights that go in it, right? And the weight that where they place these weights are literally determined by the lie angle. That's about the way I see it. And then you can go from there. Now, I get all kinds. I know exactly when I've hit it off the line and when I have not. Fortunately, I haven't done that real bad. Like I said, the last time I played, I put two putted everything. And it goes where you point it, right? So, yeah, I mean, I like it. Now, if you got the Link putter because it looked more traditional, that one they say that it works very, very well. Uh, I'd have to see one first before I make my comment. I get the DF and I get the DF2, I get the DF3, and I get this Link or the Mez. That Link one, I see what they're doing with it, but it may be just a little bit too much. But that's me. Manual 10.3 isn't a handicap to sneeze at. Nicely done. Flirting with a 9. Look at John go. Perception 400 rounds in the middle. Reality 4 left. Yes, unfortunately so. And we all have it, right? We're all guilty with that. I got 250 in the bag. Let me pull out my 3 hybrid or whatever, my 2 hybrid. In the day maybe, but not now. And we always go back. As humans, we always go back to the very positive, and it's fun to talk with folks about that. Everybody center of the face of the cobra, probably a fitting issue. Probably so. There's Kent. Hey, you made it. Decent weather in Yorkshire. Hopefully I said that right. By that I mean it wasn't raining. It was sunny, but 40-mile-an-hour winds. Woo! Shot a 75. Well, you know what? If you shot a 75 and 45-mile-an-hour winds, you are the man. There's Lawrence Bronson. How are you, sir? Howard Shore. What's going on? Hit the clubs to feel great. Appreciate the great work. Well, very good, sir. Appreciate that. All righty. Howard, I got to remember here. Is Howard the Indianapolis fella? Waiting on Robin. She's going to come in here and tell me. Aha. Very good. So my memory isn't too far off, Howard. I was in your neck of the woods the other day at the FDIC. I was going to stop at that liquor store that's in the middle of town, but I did not and did not have time. But we're getting around. Thank you very much.
Did you see me?
Yes. John Duff says hello. Phil K. Blue Azul tequila in a ceramic bottle, smooth and slightly sweet. Well, there we go. Something to look for. All right. So I've done this. So we get out through all this thing. You don't think I'm some kind of weirdo. When I get involved in this stuff, I'm a researcher and I like to know how things work. I think that's the reason why golf intrigues the crud out of me. And the same thing is no different than this bourbon and the way that they make it and how they figured out. It intrigues me. How did somebody figure that out way back when? Somebody had to be extraordinarily smart in order to refine the corn and all the grains and whatnot. And it was basically a survival tactic. And that's the reason why I like this kind of stuff. And the art versus science of where you place barrels in order to get them to taste differently. That kind of stuff is just, I mean, it's an experience-based thing, but man, it's really just neat to understand. Kids saying doing good, I hope. Yep. Doing great. The rest of the weather. Oh, speaking of that, next week, am I right? Next week, there's Cam. Next week, Mrs. McGolf may or may not be with us. She's going on a girls' trip. And it's a very we'll talk about that one later, but she's going on a girls' trip, and there you go. Schedule 40 Black Iron has 10th streak of 60,000 psi. Should be bulletproof. You are not wrong. That's the reason why I said you could climb on that stuff, and the reason why you could really grab it and just torque on it. And that's what we used to do when I was building it. In fact, we used to take it. I know they probably don't want to hear it, but we used to take those belt wrenches, belt strap wrenches, and we'd wrap it around there and you tighten it up and you make it go instead of marking up with pipe wrenches and marring it. All right, we are forecast for a good week. Let's hope we get the right one. Good for you. Whoa, here's a good one. Frank Wozni. Okay, Wozni. Howdy from Cleveland. Oh, Cleveland, Tennessee. Not bad. Cleveland, Tennessee. All my clubs, I have an issue with all my clubs, I have an issue with my driver, the TX. My right hand grip is confused. All the other clubs, my right hand goes where it should. On the driver, the right hand wants to grip neutral, where the left hand sets at strong. The shaft is 600 at the end. Have you ever heard of such stuff? No. So for right-handed, and we're like this, it wants to go over here and get stronger still. I don't know if it's a thing for you. So Frank, I don't know. So here's a question: is if it's the bottom hand, right? And then basically what's happening is that if this one's setting in the where the V is going up to your back shoulder, and you're wanting to be where the left hand is, does that mean it's weaker or stronger? And in either case, what it is you apparently don't feel real comfortable over top of this driver for one reason or another. If you have a standard grip on it and you want it to feel a little more comfy, I might recommend, and this is just off my top of my head, one of the MCC or what they call a low profile taper shaft. So most grips are made like this, right? They're made that they have a taper. And what you want to do is you want to get it to where it has almost no taper. And that's what the guys on tour were doing with the normal grips. They would take these grips and they would put 2 rolls of tape at the bottom, maybe 2 or 3, in order to get that bottom hand built up so it was way more comfortable on the club. So an easy way to do that is they just started building the grips that they were thicker at the bottom. So Golf Pride has CP2s, which are really good. Like then Charlie, he has the Tour Velvets did that. Wind has one that's called the LT model. Lampkin has one, I believe, Sonar. I have to go look at that, but they have one, and I would check that one out as well. Thank you, John. I've been stuck there for 2 seasons putting. Maybe my spy would be open to sponsor McGolf Invitational Open. Wouldn't that be nice? I get a couple of sponsors, man. That might be the way to go. If I trimmed a 1/2 inch off my driver's shaft, how much weight would I have to add to the driver? John, none. All right, let's go with this. So what I will say here, and I've said it many times, swing weight is not nearly that important. All right, total weight is more important. Now the idea here is if you cut off a 1/2 of an inch, you're going to lose 3 swing weight points. 3 swing weight points on a driver is equivalent to about 6 grams of lead weight that goes back onto the bottom. You can use it by tape or put a tip weight in there, do whatever you want. However, before you go and destroying the look of your driver, I would just put a grip on it and go swing it and see if you can even tell. All right. Chances are you may not even be able to tell. That 3 swing weight points is the go, no go on whether you can tell on that. All right. and see whether or not that doesn't help you a little bit better. Jim, I'm with you. No tequila. I'm a bourbon guy. There we go, sir. I appreciate that. I've had clear spirits in the past, enjoyed them very, very much, and a couple cases maybe too much, and not anymore. Not anymore. There we go. Robin's vodka isn't on the shelf because she's out back busy drinking it. Well, you know what? As I'm looking, that's happening. So good call, Kent. All right, Howard, what's your opinion on tip weight and what's the maximum the effects for being in the heel? Okay, so I don't mind tip weights. Tip weights are an important part. Then there's several different kinds. All right, so there are for the steel shaft. They're a little bit bigger and a little bit smaller with a small flange on the bottom. You can tip them, shove them into the tip of the shaft, and put them in there and not impact a lot of the club. In graphite is where it becomes tricky. Now, what they have is they have these pieces of weight that can go anywhere from that to like that. And then there's a post. And they go as high as 10 grams. And what you do is you take about a quarter of an inch of your insertion depth. Now, what I like to do is I will cut about a quarter of an inch to take up for that not getting in there and then putting that in. But now you only have about an inch that's grabbing that club, and you got to be very careful about that. So it works kind of in tandem. You got to glue that post inside that shaft and in all that stuff into the head so it works as a unit. I haven't had one fail yet, but that's always been the scary one. Now, they do make one where it's very, very long and it's very much the post. The flange across the bottom is very, very small. And however, the post will go above the hosel, and some people say that creates a shear point, possibly. And what you can do there is your insertion depth is good, but what it does, it moves up the shaft, so it's not all the way at the bottom. So you can add weight for a total weight feel, but the swing weight may not be as nearly as gross as the other one is. All righty, PGA Steve, what do we got here? Oh, I know that guy. Look at him. Stevie, you back from your trip, bud? Hope you guys are doing well. You need to come back to Florida so we can play some golf. Yeah, I don't mind getting spanked again. Steve was a very, very, very good host for us. He was a good man, and he does well with Callaway stuff. He does really well down there in Florida. And you got your house all built. That's really cool. He's living the life. And we got to salute Mr. Steve, as I believe he was an ex-motorcycle cop. I only fill up my tumbler one time a day, but she hasn't shown you the size of that tumbler, Kent. Scheduled in September. Yeah, we're talking about St. Augustine. All righty. TSR4 is the driver for better players who want low spin. Ah, okay. Now I understand it. Very good. There's Peter. He's getting on me for this. Let's go Semper Fiber. Hoorah. Most of my family, most of my uncles were Marine Seabees. There was a few Navy Seabees in there, and there's some Marine Seabees back in the day. This is back in the day. And I'll never forget a conversation I had with my cousin, who was 6 months older than me. And he got back from the Marines, and he's looking all sharp and everything, and I'm getting ready to go in the Navy. And I said, what'd they send you to do? And he was part of the anti-tank unit. And it was just when the Wolverine movie was coming out. I said, "Well, what good's with this anti-tank thing?" And he says, "Well, if you see a tank rolling down the road, I know how to kill it." I said, "Well, that's pretty cool." He said, "Wolverines, right?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." And I said, "What good's that in real life?" He says, "Not one bit." That absolutely woke me up to going in the military. Yes, Fireball. That is the one, John. Very good. There's a Fireball Dragnum is what it's called. There we go. There we go again. Nice. Look at that. I see that Ocean Club again. All righty. We really haven't done that. All right, Cam, what do we say? Why are different model golf clubs named either pro or tour when they are obviously built for amateurs? Well, in a lot of cases, the idea here, Cam, is when you see something with the pro or the tour, means the descriptor means that it's going to be very, very low offset. All right, or something that is very, very small. So, for instance, oh, I'm trying to think of anything I got that's named Pro. I don't have anything that's named Pro. I got four. Well, I got Mizuno Pro, and Mizuno Pro it consists of three golf clubs: the Mizuno, the 241, the 243, 245, and that is the blade. That's their cavity back, and then that 245, which a lot of people could hit. Now on the tour, it wouldn't be uncommon for them to break out a 245 and use it like a driving iron. The other two are actually played on tour, so yeah, we go there. But as a whole, when they say pro or tour on them, like the ST Pros, like are in my bag, that's kind of a different one where it's a blade looking club, but it's obviously a hollow body and it's much, much stronger than those guys would probably want to use. But as a whole, again, less offset and maybe a smaller profile. Amateurs are on a different level in this game and like better irons, they need more forgiving irons. You are correct. Favorite Scotty of all time. Okay. When fighting the fade or slice, which is better, mid kick or toe kick in the shaft? Well, if I had my druthers, the popular answer there, Cam, is toe kick. The mid kick, but if I had my druthers to tell you, if you're looking for one, you want one that the profile is much more wavy in the butt section. So, for instance, maybe the Nippon, just the 950, or the KBS Tour 90, or something along that line, so that you're bringing the whole club around, not just pieces, parts of it. That's the great answer. There you go. What do we got? The glue up. Pretty sure it was the mostly. Pretty sure it was mostly an accident. I'm not sure what that was, but okay. Clint Williams. Oh, there's a new one. How about some irons that are 2 to 3 years old? Send for a tune up. Yeah, Robin will hook you up. Just get with her. So Bros Liquor on 54th Street. Independent owners work with the store. Very nice selection, fair prices. I highly recommend. I should have went. with all the firemen there, I'm sure that they had that thing stockpiled to the top. It would have been a real easy hunt right there, I'm sure. Thank you for those two little bottles. They are now officially gone. I've drank them both on video. I got one coming. Oh, by the way, we got a video where that is coming out. Some do's and don'ts in club making will be the next one, so keep an eye out for that. Hey, Robin, how are you? That's the guy. Yep. Cam, is there or will there ever be a manufacturer moves the center sweet spot out towards the toe more than now? Probably not. If you look, Mizuno does that now with that that little bit of weight out at the end. They do that now, and that's so when you hear stuff like so they won't overcook the club, meaning that they won't turn it over. That's where that's at. Okay. And the toe, and that's where the toe area is at. Maltby actually designed a golf club with the center of gravity out towards the toe. It was years and years ago, and it was a horrific failure. Uh, it just was. It was just a bad. It was a great design for a poor swing, is what it was, and it didn't last but a year. Trying to think of any others. No, that's really about it. That's out there that does that kind of stuff. The right hand wants to be weak. I'm using X-line chords. Yeah, so I'd build up that bottom hand just to see what happens. You're more than welcome. This, like I told him right there, Taylor, good call. Perfect. You're welcome. I would drive to north to Ohio. Oh, from New Hampshire to Ohio to get my golf get together. Well, very cool. Here's a new one, 6505X. I bought Mizuno blades off of eBay and didn't realize the lie on them was 2 degrees up from the Mizuno spec. This means they are about 1 degree more upright than the pings I was gaming. Will this wreck my swing? No, what you'll find out is that you might want to, whatever side of the ball you're on, chances are the right-hand side. So chances are 1 degree up means you'll be a little bit more into the heel in your impact, or that you'll draw it more to the left a little bit more. Or my PX driver cut to 44 inches. They would they have made adjustments for the swing weight without seeing the obvious signs? Yes, they probably would have. They have those weights at the bottom, depending on your driver. They have weights in the bottom of those things, and they probably would have weighted it down. Now, will they have weighted it down to get you to the original swing weight? Probably not. It just depends on what shaft you were using. If you're with a standard 60-degree shaft, no, you're probably not going to get where you were. But they will add some more weight to the bottom, and normally it's in the head. Ooh, 430. You like that smaller look too, don't you? So that works out great. There's Mr. Moody. How are you, sir? Glad to see you can make it in. The people who make the cinnamon flavored for Fireball is one of my company's clients. Oh, very cool. Like that. I was wondering what it was. Its stuff is it's quite tasty. I gotta say, I took it as a sipping kind of thing, but guys like to go bloop and shoot it back. Okay, but that Dragnum stuff was really good. There's Mr. Bob Lint. There's my buddy Drew. My father was a Navy Seabee. Didn't know they had Marine Seabees. Well, neither did I. But yeah, I had it was funny because my uncles, there was a set of 1, 2, 3, 5 of them, and they all served. And some of them were Navy and some of them Marines. And I had no idea. I had no idea. And although I did get to a CB base over there, and it was just south of here in the Caribbean area, and that place was nice. Whoo, was it nice? They take care of their stuff. What's my favorite Scotty of all time? Well, let's see. Keeping in mind that I'm left-handed, Taylor, I like that fastback. I mean, from a history point of view, I like the circa 62s. I really do like those. But I don't know if they made anything left-handed. I just like the look of them. But as far as a putter that was operational for me to use, I like the fastbacks. I like that thicker blade look. Dollar Bill Clinton, there you go. Back for some of that good knowledge. Is put on those BB&Fs. They look great. Well, good. Good. There's Bob talking. There we go, buddy. Robin asked for you to hit the thumbs up. Robert S., how often do you see it where people set the driver more for a fade and the 3-wood for a draw? Well, I can't say very often, Robert. I can't say very often at all. I wonder why that would happen. If the driver, I can only imagine if the driver was more well, here's the thing. If the driver was more of a close-face driver and you were wanting to get there, I could see that, because the 3-wood would probably square right up and you would want to go the other way. That's the only way I could come across to that conclusion. My dog Rex says thumbs up. Thank you. Robert says good evening. There you go. Taylor's left-handed too. There you go, buddy. Yeah, the number 6, nice. So I used to take those things. I would buy the most beat up one on eBay I could possibly find. I'd take a thing apart. I would grind off all that black, and I would shine that thing up to a mirror polish, and then I would go blue it again and turn it black again. But it was blue. It wasn't that coating that was on it. And then I would paint funky colors into it and try and redo it. It was kind of fun that way. All righty, guys, we made it to the very bottom. I will say thank you for all over the world for tuning in yet again. We have some new folks. Tell your friends, tell your families, hit that like and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in and indulging me on talking golf and or bourbon now. And as always, I really do thank you. It's fun to be talking this kind of stuff, and I like answering your questions. That's always fun. Don't forget to watch for the coming out the do's and don'ts of golf club making. And we're talking about those T350s and whatnot. And as always, guys, let's see your scores go low.